Greetings. I've just ridden the Elon Musk bus up to Mars here. Oh god. Jesus. Yeah, so imagine cruising around the Mass Effect universe in a roadster. Taking the roadster through a relay. Holy hell. Alright, I'm gonna go through James real quick. I'll cut this later. Yeah, so me and the boys and the girl raiding Area 51. Going to fetch our sorry waifus. Not even though, because this is a Miranda romance profile. Dude, imagine the roadster, Elon Musk's abandoned roadster, just crashing through the roof of the Citadel, taking out Sarah, and the whole series never even happens.
Good question.
Ashley / Caden here are unbelievably clueless about Cerberus, at least in its structure. And they're accusing Shepard of being a terrorist while fighting alongside him. It's not very efficient. But I really like how the dynamic of that accusation changes drastically depending on how you treated them. Well, I don't mean it changes in the gameplay sense, but in the lore sense. So how you treated them in the second game during that brief encounter. The context is a lot different. And here, like, Ashley is trying to basically get Shepard to say, yeah, I helped Cerberus off these scientists.
Give us a straight answer, Shepard.
Which is,
Do you know anything about this? What is Cerberus doing here? What makes you think I know what they're up to?
it's a frustrating conversation, which admittedly is
Cut all ties.
good writing. And by the way, from what I've gathered, the Alliance is a mixture of several different navies. Most obviously, the American, Canadian, and UK navies. Yeah, you won't actually find much reference to nationality, ethnicity, etc. because humanity has become so, you could say globalized, but it's not globalized in the globalist sense. It's more like,
But I'm done explaining myself to you.
yeah, the universalized Earth in the face of some really, literally alien presences. It makes sense to me. I think the one thing that would really tribalize all of humanity as a single unit would be encountering extraterrestrial life. So in the case of something like the First Contact War, which is the first encounter between humanity and one of the alien species, there would have to be a kind of Earth universalism in the loyalty sense, like the allegiance type of sense, not in the religious sense, just in order to be able to face an enemy like that. So you would see probably a reworking of all geopolitics, as well as a common language. It would likely be closest to English, but I think it would be an awesome language.
Easy there, Lieutenant.
It would have kind of elements of everything. It'd be like most predominantly like imagine like an English, Chinese, Russian fusion language. That'd be sick. With just some arbitrary Hispanic poetic slang in there. Or maybe we'd all just speak Spanish. Yeah, and Liara's greeting here was oddly affectionate considering there was no romance with her in this profile. However, given the context of what happens, what she does between Mass Effect's Well, yeah, Mass Effect 1 and 2, where it's like the intro of Mass Effect 2 and then the rest of the game. It gives it a lot of context. She's basically in love with him
Why now?
no matter what. Like, it's pretty much canon at this point.
Mixed with a little desperation.
But yeah, as for this
The Alpha Reapers
playthrough,
bought us some time, but then
we should be romancing Miranda. I'm 90% sure. Which I do recommend. It's pretty touching. If you have time to do another playthrough, you should check it out.
way to stop the Reapers.
There's plenty that's fishy or incomplete about the Crucible at this point.
The Protheans came close to
Not
defeating
necessarily in the
them.
writing,
Plans
though.
to destroy them, but ran out of
It
time.
won't help your
And
case
anything
to
powerful enough to destroy the Reapers.
blame an inconsistency on writing
Cerberus would be interested.
before you're able to take it all the way to the end of what's already there, the information already given in the story, which is very large scale. So if you can find a reason for the inconsistency within the story, I think that's even more impressive. I think it's more
But
creative, and it's more akin to how these things are written. And it's a great way to practice writing one of these yourself as well. I think if you think you can write a better story than Mass Effect, by all means, like, I want to play that, I want to read that, whatever it is. What I admire most about indoctrination theory is that it emphasizes that what the sub-stories are trying to do is show you rather than tell you outright that if you have some hang up about destroying the Reapers, you're wrong. It's a very life-affirming stance. So ironically, if you're someone who's more cynical, more aggressive, more edgy, more less hopeful, less white-pilled or whatever about the future of life, anywhere, any kind of life, then you're probably more likely to choose the supposedly life-affirming option of synthesis
There's a recording of what happened here.
or control. Oh, Eva Core.
when there's so much at stake, I just think about what I'd lose if I fail.
That's a terrible burden.
We'll stop them, Liara. Together.
Thanks, I want to believe you.
Oof, that's so stifled
Okay, doors open.
when you don't have the previous Liara romance.
Let's move.
All you have to do is romance her in the first game. You can do anything you want in the second. But then when she comes back here, her dialogue is so much more meaningful. Thing is, I found repeatedly, there's no reason not to romance Liara in the first game, unless you are femship and want to do one of the other ones. What can you do as femship in the first game? Just Garrus? No, not even Garrus. Just Kaden. Oh, and Liara also. Oh, yes. Yes. Just right through the mail slot. By the way, that's a very fun achievement to hunt when you're feeling like it. Look at that. That is brutal. Is it realistic? I've heard conflicting opinions on that. If you know the answer, please do tell me. Specifically, I'm addressing the head explosion question. So how did I come to love this game with the might of 1,000 suns? Could I explain it in a few sentences?
What did they find?
More than I could describe in a short conversation.
There's some more memetics for you.
Tramline takes us right
More than I could describe in a short conversation, and it would only scratch the surface.
It's just through here.
Oddly enough, though, most real fans of this series will prefer either the first or second game. This game to me feels like home. There's something about maybe the mechanics, maybe the grandeur, the emotion, the
No kidding.
Is that the only way in?
the familiarity of all the characters by this time. There's just something about it that yeah, it feels like morning coffee to me. That's how it feels. Mass Effect 2 is
The archives are on a separate network. We're completely locked out.
more of a
Not completely. What if we could find a short-range transmitter?
midnight logger
And?
And then
game.
we convince them that we're with them. He's got a transmitter in his helmet. If I can... Oh. Oh god. He looks like a husk.
Yeah, not quite. But they've definitely done something.
Mass Effect 1 is a hot sauce game.
Engineered by Cerberus. They claim to stand for humanity, and they do this to their own people. That could have been you, Shepard. For all I knew, that's what Cerberus had done to you.
How can you compare me to that thing?
I don't know what you are. Not since they got their hands on you. Is it really you? Would you even know they're controlling you somehow?
That's not fair, Ash.
I'm just talking out loud. I don't need
Yeah,
to-
is it not fair?
I doubt
Is
that
it fair or is it
you
not
can
fair?
convince me. I guess I just need
That's a
some time to
question.
get to know you again.
At first it seems like she's really out to lunch here. Like, she's unable to abstract enough
I'm the same person I always was.
to think of Shepard as
That's
having
what you need.
changed and yet still remained the same in an underlying sense.
You bet.
And that they don't really, they can't really change anything by bitching about it. But you do have to have a bit of empathy for
This
them.
is Delta Team.
Because all they know is that you joined a terrorist organization and they built you from scratch with cybernetics. So they haven't really had much time to catch up on the details. But you would think that they'd be like, hey,
Think
good
they
job on
If they didn't, they'll figure it out soon
like
enough.
blowing up the
We should get in
collectors
position.
and
Like the
also
Musk.
stopping the world from ending in the span of 2 days. You know, referring to the arrival
Right away.
situation there. But I guess that was kept pretty under lock and key as well. I mean, who knows? Everybody seems to know, except for you, if you didn't play the DLC.
Understood.
Depending what background you chose in ME1, you might be known as this bloodthirsty lunatic, even before all the
The archives are right on the other side.
the decisions of the actual gameplay.
There's a squad of pissed
I think of this whole series as a futuristic Iliad, really, because I mean, let's face it, the Iliad is a collection of morals and cultural description, war description, of course, and in a way a log of what would have been lost from that time. The weird part about that is the Iliad is a 95% battle description, pretty much. But it's still, the way it was sung or told or written, it's meant to explain a lot and log, in a way, what all was going on then. Even, you know, when it was popularly told, it was a matter of recounting old events.
They put up a good fight. Yes, it confirms my assertions about the value of the data stored here.
So this is where they're keeping our anime waifus. Are you paying attention, Elon? I think of Shepard as there's some room to to describe him as the Achilles figure if you choose a more renegade path for him, but aside from that, I think of him more as the IS or Ajax persona, because he isn't exactly top dog, but he still has that fear factor, as in none of his enemies want to encounter him. In fact, even here, you can hear the Cerberus troops are like, "Holy shit, that's Shepard!" And they're really demoralized, understandably. And of course, FemShep is the same Shepard, so it's the same comparison. Yeah, weird thing though is anonymity. So like, for example, these Cerberus troops absolutely know who you are. But then you got situations like Donovan Hawk where he should really know your face 100%, but you're supposed to be incognito and stuff, so just to vary the gameplay, they're like, well, we need to have him not be constantly recognized. And like, I mean, think of the Conrad, like, what if you were just surrounded by Conrad Werners all the time? It'd be a disaster. You'd have like military grunt fanboys with like shrines of you in their closet, and like split up families constantly. Be a total mess. And you're like FemShep, and dudes are coming up to you like, "Can I buy your bathwater for 3,500 credits?" I often like to play sort of without spamming Medigel all the time, because at a certain point you have so much of it that you really lose that sense of, hey, I should keep my squad mates alive, if possible. Talk about breaking immersion. It's like, no, it's okay. Soldiers are expendable, like back in the first game. Poor Jenkins. He was so young. You ever get OCD about pressing like every red circle? What would you do if you walking down the sidewalk, you just see a huge red button on a pedestal with like neon lighting around it?
Ash.
No indication of what it does, just you might be less inclined to press it, who knows? Ah, Martin Sheen, we meet again.
Elusive man.
Dad?
Fascinating race, the Protheans. They left all this for us to discover, but we squandered it. The Alliance has known about the archives for more than 30 years. And what have they done with it?
What do you want?
What I've
Always wanted.
The data in these artifacts holds the key to solving the Reaper threat.
I've seen your solution. Your people are turned into monsters.
Hardly. They're being improved.
Improved?
Elusive Man comes back in this game with a much firmer resolve. Oh god, look at him. He already looks like he's been up for 38 hours.
Humanity would be if we controlled them.
Earth is under siege, and you're
Yeah, by the way, you have to select the extra info options here
Civilizations do more. You know that.
if you want the
It's why you kept the collector base intact.
morality choices.
I gave you that base to find a way to stop the Reapers. You failed.
More importantly, I don't want the Reapers destroyed. You can dominate them.
Hottest take journal of the future. Why the Reapers will win in 2188. Parentheses. And that's a good thing. I wonder how many times evolution has been used to
Your vision is
like murder vast quantities of people. I think Elusive Man thinks he's being really clever here. Like, I think he believes he's always believed this, and has really just finally outsmarted everyone else around him.
Enough talk. Liara.
Yeah, your time is like basically like Shepard was just a tool this whole time. It's like he didn't need him. He was just using him as a. It's not how it worked at all. But
Data, it's not here.
at least the man doesn't seem to remember this. So you can tell he's already really had the Reaper tendrils at him for a while now.
Hey, step away from the console. Now.
She's like, hell no. I'm gonna be played by Scarlett Johansson. There's nothing you can do about it.
She's faster than she looks.
Stay close. We can't lose her.
You guys aren't hearing this right now, but this scene without music, really odd.
Stay on her. I got this one.
Now this stunt here, I don't see why the writers would write it this way, or the animators would animate it this way, because it looks just remarkably like he's aiming for them, like for Shepard and Liara and Ashley. Yeah, it's dramatic and such, but did he have to come from that way? It's just,
They'll be here soon.
it's a bit sketchy, I think. They do mention Reaper signatures in orbit.
Data.
So was James momentarily hijacked by some indoctrination? Possibly. He does mention later on that he hears a kind of humming noise, which could be just the Normandy. But it also could be, I mean, if you listen, you actually can't hear a humming noise.
Order.
So a bit of a suggestion there.
Finish her.
Or a troll. Edie's future shell. That was an odd little zoom there, wasn't it? Oh my god, you know, if you come to think of it, that segment plus the Marauder Shields one, they're the only two
Bring it with us.
in the game that have...
Signatures in orbit.
Yeah, there's the Reaper signatures line. Yeah, those are the only two scenes with, playable scenes with infinite ammo in this game, as far as I know. And the Marauder Shield scene is strange in about 100 ways. So between the two, I'd have to say, yeah, there's a definitive link. So it's a good thing to pay attention to. If anything, probably just wanting to vary the gameplay a bit and couldn't do it more than twice and still get away with it. So we got Reaper signatures. James tries to end the war in favor of the Reapers right there. What more do you want? That's all I gotta say on the matter. I'm just kidding. But I'm not kidding at all, actually. Yeah, everyone's indoctrinated. Especially Hackett. Look, if Udina can be indoctrinated, then Hackett can be indoctrinated. But, yeah, no, I'm kidding for the most part. Some folks think Marauder Shields is Saren. That's kind of a cool idea, except he did kind of disintegrate. So I don't know.
Ashley needs medical attention.
He looks kind of like a Sith Lord there.
We have to leave the Sol system.
They did just such an amazing job with Liara's expressions in this game. They're so alive and earnest. Another place you could really tell that is with Shepard's expressions in the very beginning of the game,
Can you clear
the
this
very
up?
opening.
I'll do my best.
And Lieutenant Commander Williams?
I've done what I can for her. She needs
Someone please explain to me the Lieutenant Commander
the Admiral's right. It's going to get
differentiation. As I understand, it actually is different based on which branch of which military you're in. And
worse. I've looked at the data. This weapon could be the answer if we can build it.
Commander Shepard, I believe, is a lieutenant
I get the
commander.
sense you don't quite
The memetics are out of control here.
Isn't it worth trying at least?
I'm going to check on Ashley and James.
That part bothers me a little bit. I wish there was a dialogue option there.
See the need to help.
He just blows her off. Because imagine if you're romancing her too and she's just trying to help. She's just trying to make you feel a bit better. And you're like, just leave me alone, Mom. Alright, we'll begin the Citadel throwbacks plus character bonding in the next one. Naschledanou.